Are potential clients in your DMs saying they can't afford it and asking for a discount, and you wonder why you keep attracting cheap buyers? It all comes down to awareness. And right now, the language that you are using in your content speaks only to what cheap buyers are aware of. Now, speaking to a low level of awareness is only one of the 7 biggest content marketing mistakes. There are 6 others. I created an entire training showing you these 7 mistakes and how to avoid them and what to do instead. I will post a link for you down below to grab it totally for free. So, how do you stop attracting cheap buyers? First things first, you must know the result, outcome, or transformation that you provide for your clients. If you don't know the result, outcome, or transformation that you provide, then you are going to speak to everybody. And the default of who you speak to is a low level of awareness. And that's one of the reasons why you keep attracting the cheap buyers. Second thing is you want to be very specific around the awareness of what your ideal client already needs to be aware of in order to get the best results from working with you. Now, this can be a little bit tricky because there are a lot of people that you can help, a lot of people that you can serve. But that does not make that person an ideal client. That does not make that person qualified to pay your premium prices and get the best results. So if you're unsure of the awareness level that you need your ideal client to be at, the default is to speak to everybody. The default is to speak to a person that is on a low consciousness level, a low level of awareness. A sophisticated buyer, a high quality buyer that you can help get the best results, has an awareness level that is higher up the ladder. And when you speak from here, now you're going to attract them because you're basically speaking eye to eye with them. And what you're doing is you're also talking above what low level, cheap awareness, cheap buyers are looking for. They don't have the capacity to understand a higher level of awareness. So it doesn't make them a qualified buyer. And so your default now is, well, I can serve a lot of people. I can help a lot of people. True. But that doesn't mean that those people are qualified to pay you, qualified to get the best results. This is so important and so essential because I see a lot of coaches, experts, thought leaders, authors that are putting their message into the marketplace, but they're looking to catch all of the fish. Now, there's a time and place to create more general, broader types of content. But when it comes to putting a message behind your offer that is a premium offer, that means that you have to have the language of what is already relevant for a person looking for a high quality solution. People who are looking for cheaper solutions are only aware of quick fixes. They're aware of just the beginning stages. But when you're looking to work with a person who's already further up that awareness ladder, you got to speak to that level. That means you have to have a level of conviction about what you do and who you serve and your ability to help them get results. Generally, I see if people are afraid to speak to high levels awareness people, it often happens if you don't feel convicted in your ability to help them get results. So you naturally default to wanting to help the beginner person. And there's nothing wrong with beginners. There's nothing wrong with somebody being at the beginning stages of their journey. But there are other people who can serve them. That doesn't have to be you. It also comes into play if you're a person who is still seeking validation from your business. You still don't have a belief in your ability to serve or your ability to help them get results. Now you're looking for people to say yes to you and validate you. And that means that you're going to go for the lowest hanging fruit possible rather than being able to speak to a higher level awareness person and hold them accountable at a high level. This also boils down to how well you are leading yourself and leading your own life. Because when you lead yourself and you're leading your life in a way that is high level of accountability, you're going to have a much easier time also speaking to higher levels of awareness people. That being said, if you yourself are preaching and teaching something, but you're not holding that standard behind the scenes, it's why you also default. Because what you're really doing is you're speaking to yourself. You're essentially trying to move yourself into action through your own content, and you're projecting and wanting your audience to move. And when you attract those cheap buyers, now you're frustrated. But it all comes down to the fact that you might not be leading your life the way that you are saying that you can lead somebody else. The language that we use in our content is a reflection of also what we are aware of. It's also a reflection of how we hold ourselves accountable. If we're not holding ourselves accountable, then we're going to project this push type energy on our audience. And that push type energy on our audience is actually repellent. It is going to repel your audience away from you because they're not going to jive with what you're saying, because they can feel the energy behind your words is more so trying to get them to do something, which really what you're doing is trying to get you to do something, because you know deep down you're not holding yourself to high levels of accountability. This boils down to awareness. This boils down to your ability to hold the tension at a high level of awareness. When you're leading a person in their life and you're creating a transformation, it requires high levels of accountability, which requires higher levels of awareness. But when you live below that, when you live below what it is you preach and teach, now you're not attracting an audience at all, or you're attracting all the wrong people, or you're attracting the cheap people, the people who say they can't afford it, the people who say they need to think about it, but really they were never going to buy in the first place. You're attracting all of the wrong people. This is why it is so important to have a framework. I teach my clients how to create their own framework. Once you have a framework, now when you are creating content, you can cross-reference if the awareness of the words in this piece of content, whether it's written or video, matches the framework that you have. You have to have something to move from, something to create from, something to cross-reference when you're creating content. And that is your framework. So inside of having a framework, you have the 3 to 5 steps that you take people through, these big bucket steps that people need to walk through in order to get their result or get their transformation from working with you. Underneath those big buckets, you will have other micro steps that they will take. In order to have those micro steps, that all comes with certain levels of awareness. So the first thing you have to do is have this framework so that when you have your content created, you're basically having a checklist and you're saying, okay, this one line that you might have said as your hook is probably speaking to a low level of awareness, but you won't know that if you don't have a framework on how you help your audience get results. This goes beyond creating a client avatar. You should have a client avatar, which is all about what it is you help your clients do, but it's centered around where your clients are right now, not just what they like to eat, what they like to read, what they're watching, but their psychographics. What are the things that they value? What are they paying attention to? What keeps them up at night? What are the things that are buried deep in their heart that they don't want anybody to know? Those are the things that you're going to be speaking to in your content. So you want to have a client avatar, and then you want to also have this framework. So this is not about avatar. Hopefully you have that already. But once you have that, then you want to make sure you have a framework, because then that's going to help you speak to the right level of awareness. I want you to pay attention to the people that you follow online. There are a lot of people right now speaking to people at the bottom. And when I say at the bottom, I don't mean that in a negative way. I just mean people now getting started on their journey, people who are taking one step on their fitness journey, the first step in their entrepreneurial journey, the first step in learning how to take care of their finances or budget better. The first step is different than someone's 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, or 12th step. If you are a premium coach, a premium consultant, you are likely helping somebody who is already farther along the chain. But because you're so accustomed and used to seeing a lot of people in the online space always speaking to people who are just getting started, then it's easy to adopt that language. This is why I say you can't copy what other people are doing or saying, because they're likely not speaking to the same awareness as you. And if you copy them, then you're going to attract nobody or attract those cheaper buyers. So this is so essential. I want you to start asking yourself, is what I'm saying in this message what my ideal client is currently aware of? Now, let me create this distinction. There are going to be times where you create content that has nothing necessarily to do with an offer. I create a lot of content that don't always coincide with an offer that I'm selling or an offer that I have. You all know I have my content legacy program, but I create a lot of content that has nothing to do with that. People naturally might be drawn to want to work with me, sure, but I have content that is also helping to build up awareness, but there's no offer behind that. I don't intend to sell something. I don't intend to make $1 off of that. But what I do intend to do is to help illuminate why that person might be stuck where they are at this bottom level of awareness. My intention with that kind of content is to go broad. It is to create more visibility. But when I am specific about creating a piece of content that positions my offer, it is tight on the level of awareness. It is tight on who I'm speaking to directly. The title of the video, the title or hook of a Facebook post or an Instagram reel or carousel or whatever marketing material. The hook is going to be specific for an outcome. It's going to be specific to a higher level of awareness versus a hook that is for a lower level of awareness or a beginner awareness level. And that is just meant to get more eyeballs, gain more visibility. This is what I call having an adjacent message. An adjacent message is just to help illuminate more awareness about you, but also about the actual problem that you might solve for people, but at a lower scale. And maybe you do have a lower tiered offer. Maybe you have a $27 offer or a $27 ebook, or maybe a $200 thing, something that is not in the thousands. That would be fit for the people that are at that awareness level. Because at a lower level of awareness, they're not always bought in. Those people aren't looking to just take it to the moon. They're not there yet, but they can still purchase. They're just not going to purchase those premium packages. Now, I'll say there's always those 1%ers who are ready to just go all in. I was a person like that. When I first got started in my entrepreneurial journey back in 2014, my very first investment was $25,000. And I've shared this story before. I was a low level of awareness, but my ambition was high. And I'm just somebody who's a go-getter, and the money, the investment was not a repellent. I was not looking for something cheap. What I will also say is that sometimes just because someone has the money to invest still does not make them an ideal client, because the awareness level might not be there in order for them to do the work necessary and needed to get the results. That's the other caveat of this. Just because somebody can pay you doesn't make them ideal. If you want to continue to maintain a good rep in the industry, you want to continue to help people and serve people at the highest level, the money is not the thing you're looking for, because everybody can go and take a loan and do all kinds of things in order to get the money to invest. But that doesn't make them a person who is ready to become the kind of person to get the results. The money doesn't make the person achieve. It is that person's readiness. And generally what we see is that the higher level of awareness you are, the more ready you're going to be able to take the action necessary to get the result. So I never want to say never or always. There's always some kind of a caveat. But I am going to say that the people who are at a lower level of awareness, they have a certain mindset. So they're looking to dip their toe in the water. They're looking for something cheaper in this moment, in this stage, which is fine if that's how you want to serve people and you want to make something or have something that is more accessible, sure. But if you're looking to sell premium into the thousands, then you don't want to talk about anything down here. You'll create a broad message and attract a bunch of people, but to sell, you want to tighten that message up with the level of awareness. You want to zoom in, you want to create that lens. So if you're looking to go broad and attract a lot of people, create a broad message. If you want to sell, create a tight message, especially if it's into the thousands of the actual price tag that you are selling. And if you want, you can also create content that helps to build up your audience who's following you 1 inch at a time above the ladder or through the ladder of awareness. And that is something that you'll see on my channel as well. I have a varying degree of hooks, a varying degree of titles, and all of that is meant to target different people at different levels of awareness. But a lot of my content pretty much stays fairly tight. I am talking a lot more about my faith right now because it's such a big part of my life. I've been walking with the Lord since the end of December of 2023. And so as I've continued to grow, it's become a part of my message. So that is attracting a lot more people. It's broad. But then if I'm selling something, I'm tightening a message and I'm not necessarily talking about my faith in the same way, or it's not a faith-driven message. Even my marketing messages have faith in them, but I'm just saying I'm not sharing my testimonial about coming to the Lord. I'm not sharing certain components and then trying to sell a business offer behind that. It doesn't jive. But sharing about my faith is attracting more viewership. So I want you to just think about your own journey, think about your own business, your own brand. We're coming into a place right now where it's not just about sharing a marketing message that sells your thing. I'm genuinely interested in helping more people grow with the Lord. So I have a message. My goal isn't to make that monetized. It doesn't matter to me. I want people to be served and get closer to the Lord through that content. And I trust that they are blessed, and I trust that Holy Spirit speaks to them through that piece of content. And then I have my other messages that are more tailored to business and tailored to helping you get your message out there. So realize that people are looking to buy from business and brands that are real, business and brands that aren't just talking about business all the time, business and brands that aren't just talking about buy my thing, here's what I have to offer, here's what I have to sell. You get to know me, but you also get to understand how I think. What is my philosophy? I tell you stories about my life. I share insights. So you're building trust on these microscopic levels. You're building energetic resonance with me. So this all goes into having a message. So don't just think that all of your messages are to, hey, buy from me. It's not always about that. This is about building trust. This is about building connection. It's about building relationship, and it's about having due diligence in the marketplace. But if you want to stop attracting the cheap buyers, you want to tighten up the awareness of who you are talking to. You got to be clear on your result, outcome, or transformation. And then you want to know what your ideal client needs to be aware of in order to get the best result. List those out, speak from that awareness, and you will stop attracting the cheap buyers and you'll start attracting the high quality, sophisticated buyers who can pay your premium prices. Be sure to grab the free training down below, the 7 biggest content marketing mistakes, or if you're already ready to apply to work together, feel free to click the link down below. It's the apply to work with me button, and I will see you all in another video. Bye.